Hi there. Greetings. Greetings. Greetings, everyone. It's my favorite day. It is Friday. It's Epic Cash Live Friday. I've missed you. It's been a couple of Fridays that I couldn't live stream with my good friends here. We have Max Freeman, who is founder of Epic Cash. We have Yoga Dude, master of all. We have Islo, who those of you who are in the chats know he's one of the brightest gentlemen in our community and amazingly wet ore. And then we have John on as well, who is a special guest that we can introduce at some point in time. But today's title is called Breaking Spells. It is, in the news everywhere, all over the place, this FTX debacle. P.S. Wouldn't want to be Tom Brady right now. And we don't need to beat up what happened, but in the spirit of breaking spells, I want to open this up and talk about self-custody and the importance of, because the only people, frankly, who got scammed by, I think the number's almost $10 billion, are the people that had their money on the exchange. And it's been that same way ever. And when there are these scams, if you are gambling on those exchanges, or even if you are just taking the lazy route, get them the hell off the exchange. I want to open up those of you who've been around me for a while. You know of a gentleman named Jaronism, and he is in one of our chats. And I just want to share my screen, share the sound, and he had a wonderful 2-minute rant that we're going to listen to. I just love it. Jaron, you rock.
How many times have we said, if you're in my groups, you know this. If you're on patreon.com/Jaronism, you know this. But we don't leave any of our money ever on exchanges. Why? Because this is what happens. And to those who keep saying, haha, crypto crashed, no. Wake up, smell the coffee, figure out what you're talking about before you just go pipe off. Crypto has not crashed. It has not had anything wrong with it the entire time. What's wrong with it is that people keep trusting third parties. What's the definition of cryptocurrency? A person-to-person digital exchange of value without the need of a third party. So what does everybody do? Go gives their money to third parties. Coinbase, FTX, Crypto.com, BlockFi, you name it. You're just giving your money to third parties who are the only people who can possibly lose it. And what are they doing? They're losing it. Okay, they're trying to float money like the banks do, only they don't get bailouts. So that doesn't really work that well. We're gonna sign in here. So, and again, I'll just warn you of the central bank digital currency. When the United States government comes out with that, and then everybody starts using it, and then everyone's like, see, I told you crypto was going to be our downfall. That's not crypto. That's just digital cash. It's what we already have now, only digitally, so that they can even protect it more, and they can know exactly what you're doing, what you're buying, where you buy it from. So it's a terrible thing, and you need to object to it 100%. We don't need it. What crypto brings us is the ability to exchange value person to person without the need of a third party. So the government cannot be like, hello, look at this crypto we made. It's like, well, who's supposed to use it? Me and another guy, and you created it? That's not person-to-person without a third party. That's person-to-person with a third party who happens to be a government, who has created a coin that will be inflationary and you'll be able to print as much as you want. It's the same thing. But people still don't get it. How could you expect them to? Let's look.
Sage words from a wise man. So that's Jaronism. I believe you can find him at jaronism.com, and certainly in Telegram, just search for Jaronism, and he has some great chats in there. So Max, Yoga, gentlemen, any comments on that?
It's funny, we keep beating the horse, and the horse has been dead for years, and yet people just still, every time it happens, people are like, oh, well, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have kept my money on the exchange. I mean, I don't know what else to add. It's like you tell people this, and until it just seems like unless people get burned themselves, they're just refusing to believe that, just don't touch that thing. It's hot,
And in our community, most of us acquire our Epic through Veet, the multi-wallet exchange. And many of us, you would probably know better than me. I don't study what is it, that .io where you can actually see some Vitescan.io.
Yeah. Block Explorer for White. Yeah.
But there's a whole lot of people still keeping their Epic on Veet. Is that fair to say, Izzy? I mean, I'm sorry, Yoga.
Yeah, there's still like, I don't know, 2,800 accounts there with balances. But I mean, some people keep, just their exchange
Play money. Yeah.
balances, their play money, which is smart, but for folks who are keeping their entire stash there, it's definitely dangerous, And I think people have been lulled into this sense of fake security with big companies. Like they say, well, White is this rinky-dink place. I'm going to go with a brand name, like a brand name like FTX. I mean, heck, they got a stadium named after them. Have,
right.
Whatever, Or Coinbase exchange, like Coinbase. I mean, there's a Coinbase. Everybody loves Coinbase. I talked about that like a month ago, that if you look at their bylaws, okay, this is their terms of service that you agree upon when you get on, right? You don't get any words, you don't get any keywords, you don't get anything at all. They manage your crypto for you. And then there's that thing in their fine print that says that in the unlikely event, of course, a water landing or a bankruptcy, the customers' assets are treated as unsecured deposits, not eligible for protection and insurance and everything, right? So in other words, so they go belly up, okay, from what's a fractional reserve or being, whatever you want, right? Like FTX or like anybody else, they go belly up, and all of a sudden, like, your crypto is their collateral for resolving their financial difficulty, and you're just a guy out there like who gets a wet thank you. So I think people may not hear us, but we're not going to shut up about it. We're going to keep telling people to not hold your crypto on the exchanges. It's dangerous, guys.
How practical is that for everyone? I mean, like, when you tell a newcomer coming into crypto right now, and they're like, "What do I do?" They're like, "Well, you set up an account on one of these centralized exchanges. You move money from your bank, and and then finally you get your crypto. Now it's not safe on the centralized exchange, so you got to put it on this hardware device, or you got to figure out a paper storage device. And then what are you going to do with that paper? Or how are you going to treat your seed phrase or your pass key? You're going to write that down on a piece of paper, or are you going to inscribe it in metal? And then what are you going to do with that piece of metal? Are you going to like keep it under your bed, in your freezer, in a bank account, in a safe deposit box? And like, it's I think we kind of have bias, like this is how we operate because we've operated like this and we're comfortable with it. But we were early. We're all so early to this crypto space, right? And like, how practical is it? And like, what if I want to trade it? Now I have to go, unearth the lockbox that I have, buried 6 feet under the ground somewhere, and pull out my seed phrase and re-implement it into the software, and then move that back over to the exchange. Oh my goodness! This is I don't see this as mass adoption.
Izzy, may I tell you, there are I don't know how many people, but there's $10 billion worth of reasons why people might want to have gone through those extra steps. What's the alternative? FTX goes belly up and your money's gone. So this is, look.
It's a good discussion, guys. Look, the comfort versus security is definitely a discussion that bears merit, but.
And I would say, Uncle V, you mentioned $10 billion. I'll also point out that the 8 billionth person was born this week. So the world's getting bigger.
So I don't actually necessarily think that everyone needs to self-custody. I think most people probably won't in the future. I mean, we use banks to hold our money or currency. We don't keep physical cash on our person or in our home. So, looking 5-10 years from now, I think that third-party custody probably is a good fit for most people. Certainly until and unless it gets easier, then I I tell people to etch their seed words in metal using a Dremel drill and stick it in a safe and all this stuff. It's a really like convoluted thing. But how do we ensure that that people don't come to harm from that? Well, there's a couple of ways. So proof of reserves. Dustin Cantor is working on something called the Epic Adoption Alliance. He's actually coming out here to see me next week to talk about that. And as part of that, the companies like Freeman Express that that join that alliance will voluntarily opt into a code of conduct or standards where it says, okay, we're not going to fractionally reserve the client assets, and we're going to publish our proof of reserves.
That's
if customers have 100,000 coins with us, then we're going to show, here's our wallet, and we have 100,000 coins. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't go get in trouble and play bankster games and over leverage and cause problems, but it's certainly a step in that direction. It's a start. You know, I mean, guys like Scam Bankster Fraud Man were going to, you know, places where they knew regulators weren't looking and they can play in the gray and, you know, do bad things. So, you know, this is why I keep coming back to our model is not at all in conflict with regulators, with governments, with financial crime fighters. You know, these bad guys doing bad stuff hurts everybody and just makes it hard for us, because for years I'm talking to people, hey, we're in the Sahara Desert and here I have this beautiful ice water. Would you like some? No, man, you know, I want the orange one, you know, that the laser eye people tell me is better. You know, and if your thing is so good, why is this kid worth 30 billion after 2 years and your thing is worth 10 million after three years? Like, you know, that doesn't make sense to me. And so, you know, it just takes time for these things to unravel.
Yeah, it takes time, and I think we're very early, and we're seeing a lot of, you know, unfortunate events unfold. And you know, a lot of the people, like the people who are moving all these funds around right now, it's all over the news, like billions of dollars flowing out of Gemini, you know, flowing out of all these exchanges. And it just makes me think that, you know, it just makes me appreciate that a lot of the people in our crypto community now are savvy to that, and they are doing the right thing and taking a lot of their funds out of the centralized exchanges.
Yeah.
But I would just like to be able to share that, you know, Vite is a wonderful exchange, and that's where we play with the Epic. But it is, just do yourself the service of, you know, take 90% of your coins and put it into your own GUI wallet. It's really easy. There's a gentleman, Sky King, who published a document on how to be able to do it. It is not that difficult, and it's just very important to be able to have your Epic as native Epic, not an IOU of Epic, which is what anything held on Vite is it's just an IOU of Epic. But I think we've learned, no matter how big they are, things can happen. So that's just my message to you. I started my journey as a newbie, and I started my channel just trying to learn this kind of stuff. Those are all really good questions, Izzy, that you were talking about. And those are the things that you have to think through, because in crypto, you are your own bank. And so when you have a customer service issue, your own cell phone rings, and I guarantee your customer service is going to suck. So these are the things. This is the tuition. So I'm just imploring people to don't pay the really high price of tuition, of losing everything after you've been told and told and told and told. So,
and guys, look, we can't force somebody to do the right thing or whatever. I mean, all we can do is educate people. That's it. We give people the knowledge so they can make that informed choice. And Izzy, to your point, I agree. Yes, there is a comfort versus security. There's the, like, what are people comfortable with? And like Max was saying, yeah, you know, if you write it on paper, you can lose the paper, and, you know, but you chisel it in titanium or however paranoid you are, but go with your level of comfort, but at least know what can happen if you don't do things, okay? Because then when something happens, you're not going to go, oh, well, gee, I didn't know. It's like, no. You knew, and you chose to do it or not to do it, okay? So I just think that if people make, you know, informed choices, then the responsibility falls on them squarely.
So this show this Friday is called Breaking Spells. While I have you on, Yoga, I want to share a screen. You wrote. I've observed this too. It's like I see you, Yoga. I see you kind of taking what I'm going to show right here, and you're just finessing it. And this morning you wrote this, and I was just like, man, this is just gold. Would you mind taking us through this? Because we were talking about Bitcoin, and that is one of the spells that's out there. Is that the orange one is going to, it's just numbers go up, and it's going to go up forever. And I want to kind of beat that spell up a little bit with you, Yoga, and Max, and talk about this. But can you just walk us through this?
Look, I mean, in a nutshell, we're talking about Bitcoin as a technology because, like Max said, hey, the orange coin is good, buy the orange coin, right? And the issue that I have with it is, and I've been a Bitcoin miner. So again, I'm not coming off of like I'm crapping on something that I never touched, that I never used. Okay. I used to think, back in 2011, I used to think it was a pretty big deal. Okay. But today, the realization is that, look, Bitcoin is thoroughly hijacked. And it's dominated by the system that it was designed to challenge. We know this from the white paper. We know that it was meant to be a P2P, a person-to-person way of payment without going through intermediaries, right? And it is nothing like that today.
No.
Okay? So mimblewimble came out. The mimblewimble technology came out, which sounds like a corny technology, but it's superior. Like when Yahoo came out, it sounded like a stupid word, but it was actually pretty good for a while. So mimblewimble came out, and their implementation of the technology, it was a way for Bitcoin tech to improve itself. Okay, it was a way out. But the problem, there's several problems. And Max, part of this was inspiration from Max's earlier comments when he was reminiscing about how he went to this Bitcoin Maxi show, and all these Bitcoin maxis were just hot and bothered about mimblewimble and what an awesome thing it is and how many problems it solves. Okay, but the problem is that Bitcoin cannot implement mimblewimble in any meaningful and effective way because the tech is too old. And as I put it, there's no way they would ever relinquish their control. And by they, I don't mean the developers, because Bitcoin doesn't really have any meaningful developers at this point, okay? But what I mean are the control systems that hijack Bitcoin, and they are very happy with Bitcoin being exactly the way it is today, completely not private, completely, censorable, trackable, confiscatable. And Epic Cash became the purest implementation of mimblewimble. Okay, we got the responsible emission. We have better scarcity than Bitcoin because we're not subject to rehypothecation. Okay, we're private by default, but without any of like nefarious injection of fake data. Okay, so it's not like a three shell Monty kind of thing. It's by design, by default. We're future proofed by having a multi-algo mining capability that uses CPUs and GPUs instead of using, super expensive ASICs and FPGAs and other limited use techs that only purpose is to just mine that particular crypto, right? Epic can be mined with gaming PCs today. So, my thesis and conclusion is that Epic is distilled opportunity creation engine. We're borderless, we're unstoppable, we're untraceable, we're private, we're fungible, we're unconfiscatable private property, and superior money. That's it. That's it in a nutshell.
Mic drop. I read that this morning, and I'm like kind of goosebumpy because it's just like, especially that last part just sums it all up very nicely. And Max, what happens when number go up, technology stops going up?
Yeah, that's a fascinating question. So we are at 16,000, which is less than at the tail end of December 2017. So here we have a store of value that has not stored value for 5 years. What happens if we're in 2027 and we're still at 16,000 and it hasn't kept up with inflation? at that point. I mean, Peter Schiff is having a field day. Guys that are saying, "Oh, the stock market is better," this and that. For the DNA of Bitcoin podcast, I asked many leading minds, particularly the Orange Coin Good Laser Bully type maxi guys, and I said, "So what does it mean for Bitcoin if your thesis is entirely dependent on the inevitability of future price appreciation? Does the network even survive if the price doesn't keep going up?" And I was really shocked that they said, well, of course not. Like, if the price doesn't keep going up, nobody's going to buy this thing. And I'm just like, what? Okay. Wow. Yeah. All right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And educate us a little bit about the journey of Bitcoin up to 69,000 and just how many people are in absolute horrid trouble right now because they did what? They borrowed against it, because surely the number was going to go up. It's not if, it's when, so they were safe.
Yeah. I mean, it's so seductive. Here, take this loan. You don't need to. Like, remember back during the mortgage crisis pre-07, where people were using their homes as ATM machines to go get flat screen TVs and jet skis and stuff like that. And then the bill came due later. Everybody wants something for nothing and instant gratification, and to push the costs off till later. And so what I'm seeing a lot of out there in people that I talk to is instead of selling their position at 30, 40, 50, 60,000, they decided to borrow against it, thinking that that was a smarter move. Oh, okay, I'm going to defer the taxes. I'm only paying X percent in interest. And of course, the price is going to continue to go up. And let's say you borrowed against half of your coins. Well, maybe now you need to sell the other half of your coins to avoid getting liquidated, and you're upside down on taxes, and your cash flow is all messed up. So I used to laugh, but people are really getting themselves in terrible situations with this stuff, because the flawed thinking is that the number will keep going up indefinitely, whereas every mutual fund prospectus in the history of the industry has always said past performance is no indication of future results. People draw their squiggles on charts and talk about, oh, this happened in 2017 and 18 and 19 and this and that. But okay, that was then and this is now. Famous last words are, this time it's different. Well, sometimes it really is different, with the halvings, with the security budget. For me, a very interesting data point is there was a mining company, Compute North, that was doing this like ASIC miners in containers, something like that, like some kind of like mining related thing. And they filed for bankruptcy within the past month or two or something like that. And in their bankruptcy filing, based on what they had purchased them for, and I don't know what they purchased them for, but they said our estimate of value, they have to tell creditors how much they think their assets are worth in the bankruptcy proceeding. They said, we estimate 100 million to 500 million is the value of our assets. And it sold for $1.5 million.
Wow.
1.5 million. And I'm always ahead of the curve on these things. I have to laugh. I went to a conference in Miami in 2021 called Mining Disrupt. And they had all these like ASICs and liquid cooling vats and like airflow management systems and all this stuff to like get 2% more yield out of the thing and whatever. And I knew the young lady who was doing the interviews for the event. She had done like, if you've ever seen the Bentley video with the art in the back, she did that. Shout out, if you're listening, probably not. I haven't heard from her in a while, but anyway, so she interviewed me and she said, what is your main takeaway from this event? And I said, I'm just astonished to see this thriving industry here today and realize and contemplate the fact that within 5 years, this probably won't exist. These everybody around me thinks this stuff has a future, and it really doesn't. And that interview was not published.
Oh,
and yet here we are. I mean, it's just absurd. Like, so if you want scarcity, if you want 21 million disinflationary halvings, you go look on. I try not to do it, it makes me feel bad, I hate Twitter, but I looked on Twitter today, and somebody was saying an Ethereum maxi was bashing BTC, saying, how could anybody be a Bitcoin maxi after this? And one of the comments was, because I know what the supply is going to be in the future. And and I'm like, yeah, at the network layer you do, but in terms of the actual effective supply based on rehypothecation and fractional reserve and financialization, no, you really do not.
Wow. So back to the theme of breaking spells. Let's talk. This one really hits home. It hurts. Being an empathetic person, I feel for a lot of people, but you were sharing the story with me that yesterday you had a conversation with a friend of yours, and then we have a mutual friend. Let's talk about the spell that other people can do your thinking for you. Let's talk about the Berwick destruction.
Oh my God. So I know two people now, personal friends, people I've known for 5 years or so. I know two people now who have shared with me, hey buddy, how you doing? Oh man, life sucks. Why? Because I lost millions of dollars listening to that MFer Berwick. I lost this much on Pirate Chain. I lost this much on Equilibria. I bought into this other thing. And so it is sad and shocking and heartbreaking that this happens, but it continues to. As you said, people are often under a spell of mesmerizing personalities that they have the answers and that you can outsource your thinking to them. But that's actually very, very dangerous and risky and often expensive. Yes. One gentleman had $1 million of Pirate Chain that I think is now worth 50 grand, something like that. Another guy had 8 million, and last I checked, he was down to 200,000, but it's collapsed since then, so maybe 100,000. I mean, and this is not rich people that are just made of money either. This is like they had their whole nest egg in it, and now they're downsizing their businesses and they're laying off employees, and they're telling little Johnny he can't go to college anymore, and wife, we have to tighten the belt, and don't buy the deluxe cream cheese, get the store brand version. I mean, like real life consequences. It's not just numbers on a chart.
And didn't you share with me that the one gentleman, well, we both know him, that the only thing in his portfolio that is held strong is Epic? Yeah.
I know another guy that vaporized tens of millions of dollars in value, and his what he considered a little nothing bag of Epic, 100,000 coins. He said basically like that's my seed corn for my portfolio for the rest of my life, because I vaporized the entirety of my other assets. This is the only thing I have anymore. So hopefully you can make it valuable. And I was like, no, how about you help and make it valuable? You've been sitting there thinking you're gonna like get rich off all this garbage that big boys are playing with, and that we're not worthy of your consideration. How about you grab an oar and help us row, and we together can make it worth something. So a little bit of psychology work that we need to do. But there's major catalysts that are coming that if people are thinking about making decisions, should I zig, should I zag, is it FUD time, is it FOMO time? Right now there are 15 million Epic coins in existence, and all of them essentially are available for sale at a moment's notice If the price goes up, watch additional supply come from the woodwork. Hey, honey, now we can buy the boat. I mined those coins 2 years ago, and now I'm gonna sell some because it hit my price. I'm a happy seller at $2, $5, $10, $25, whatever. But one of the things that's being worked on, Johnny's working on this, is a staking program where it'll basically reward you to lock up and freeze your epic. The longer you stake, the more rewards you get. We know that a system like Hex, even if Hex is fundamentally flawed, because why? What is the use of a hex? Nobody can answer that question. There is no utility. Setting aside that, the social experiment of a staking system that rewards people to tie up their capital for longer, that's been proven to work, not just with Hex, but other experiments. And so what I think will happen with the EXR rewards token, that's what that'll be called, is that a significant fraction of supply will be frozen off the market and locked into these staking contracts. Why would you lock your epic and stake it? Well, because if you put one epic into the system, you get one out later in 6 months or whatever. You don't have the price risk, but you also get a share of the rewards that people are doing off of the DEX on eDEX. So if people do a lot of trading, you could actually earn quite a bit of money by providing your capital as kind of a fulcrum or a bootstrap, for that DEX venue. Can
I be Angel's advocate here?
Uh-huh.
We just talked about the destruction of FTX and how isn't that staking of Epic then? Aren't you then again trusting a third party?
No, because you're trusting a blockchain. So you're putting your Epic into a blockchain time locked contract.
Okay.
That it gets released after a certain amount of time. So you're only trusting the blockchain itself, whatever system it happens to be running on. So Binance Smart Chain or Ethereum
it's a
or whatever.
closed system. It's a closed system. It's not like Alameda, like FTX, and you had this Alameda, thing on the side, and they were like,
right,
taking loans and swapping customers' money around and stuff.
Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
There's no shady stuff here.
And it's transparent. So it's open source. You can read the code. There's no funny business. FTX Alameda was centralized, closed source, and opaque.
Backdoored.
Yeah, and fundamentally compromised. Here, you're talking about open source code that anybody can inspect. And you've got thousands of nodes running the networks that comprise these blockchains out there, where you don't really have to trust anything. I mean, I hate to use the phrase trustless, because nothing is truly trustless, but it is definitely trust minimized and as close to trustless as you can get.
Excellent. So can you give us a little example of how that might work? Like, let's say that I had 1,000 Epic that I wanted to lock up for 6 months or a year or 2 years or whatever the number is. What should I expect?
Yeah, so if you're familiar with MetaMask, where you engage with the wallet to sign a transaction, so you would just sign a transaction in MetaMask. This assumes, of course, that you've wrapped your Epic into E1 tokens, because Epic natively can't do these things. In order to do any of this cool stuff, we have to tokenize the Epic and wrap it. So you take your Epic coins and you wrap it into an E1 token on whatever blockchain you like. Our roadmap, we've crystallized the roadmap rollout for the different parts of our system that are going cross-chain. So ECR, EMPL, E1, EUSD, those are the main ones. Binance Smart Chain is going to be first. Avalanche is second. Polygon is third. Solana fourth. And then Ethereum fifth. So let's say you like Binance Smart Chain, you want to farm on PancakeSwap or whatever. So you wrap your Epic coins into E1 tokens on Binance Smart Chain. That's BEP20 token format. So now I have my BEP20 tokens, E1. What I would do is engage with a staking contract that says, okay, I'm going to put my tokens here, and then they will come back to me in 6 months. And when they do, I will get such and such rewards. If you've ever done like Curve or Yearn Finance or any of the like exotic DeFi stuff, you know what I'm talking about. So basically, we're going to plug Epic into the world of yield farming and DeFi degeneracy here pretty soon.
What would you get in return? Would you get just more Epic, or would you get a different currency?
Well, yeah. So you get EXR, the Epic Dex rewards token.
Okay.
Yeah. And then why does EXR have a value? Because there's a buyback and burn component where the system is eating itself. So there's only a certain amount of tokens that are created, and then as the trading fees pile up, that goes to fund the buyback and burn. So essentially, like, you know, when a Fortune 500 company buys its own shares, and that makes the earnings per share go up and the price go up if the PE ratio stays the same. It's the same thing here. We're kind of having the snake eating its own tail through the circular buyback system.
So the idea here is that scarcity is just going to continue is going to go up on purpose with intent, because people are taking their Epic out of play, right? So those people who are wanting to acquire more Epic, those are out of bounds. You can't buy those, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, the way it works with yield farming or with liquidity pools, with automated market makers, you have to have capital in there to bootstrap the process. So by contributing your capital to the DEX, you are making the depth deeper and the spreads tighter. People that are coming in and out, their little trade is buffered by your capital, so everybody wins. If you've looked, like Uniswap has a very similar model, SushiSwap, Curve, Compound.
But time out. Now I'm just selfishly just thinking about me and my 1,000 Epic that I want to stake for 6 months. Are you telling me I have to also fund with other dollars?
No.
That's confusing to me, the way that you just explained it with adding capital.
Yeah, well, so let's wait till the documentation comes out, and then we'll have videos and all kinds of stuff. I mean, but at a high level, conceptually, we are doing things to absorb the supply of Epic and take it off the market. And we know how to play number go up too, but we're going to do it in a sustainable, honest, 1 + 1 = more than 2 type of way through the alchemy of double overlapping coincidence of wants. So we get to learn from the experience of all these other projects out there, and take what you like and leave the rest.
And when we get to the point to where we're talking about the bank of me or the bank of I or bank of one, to where we can borrow against our own holdings, that's going to be one to where we're going to be very, very responsible with that, aren't we? We're not going to allow people to get in over their heads to where, it's pretty clear that if there's a little volatility, it'll wipe them out. We don't want that, right?
Well, that's actually a fascinating question. So, do we want a system where people are trusted to make their own decisions and be responsible adults? How much freedom is enough? That's a question for the DAO governance chat.
Right.
So, I'm inclined to think that people should be allowed to, do what they like. Things like investor accreditation. You can can only buy investments if you're over a certain amount of wealth already. The assumption being that if you're poor, you're too dumb to manage your own money. That's just a way of keeping people down. So I personally, it's not my call necessarily, but I personally prefer a more free and flexible system. What actually happens will emerge from the hive mind consensus process. That's just my feeling. But this again is why an asset like EMPL is so valuable, because with EMPL, I agree it's bad for people to get in over their heads and get liquidated and take on risks they don't necessarily understand. And so with EMPL, we have a primitive that can be used for insurance and derivative contracts, so that people can essentially be protected against liquidations. If you don't want to have the risk that you're going to face ruin, then for a fee, somebody else will take the other side of that trade.
Okay.
And if I'd like to add, just look, the idea for all of this stuff has been around, okay? But what we're doing with this whole Epic ecosystem is we're making people more competitive in the fintech, financial technology landscape. We're empowering regular people, okay, with the tools that were previously reserved for, for the crypto bros and the nerdy neckbeards and the Wall Street quants, okay? And the idea is to bring fintech to the mainstream with better safeguards and transparencies, of course, okay, and letting people make informed choices, so they can form their own investment strategies based on their risk tolerance and everything. So the idea is to make this honest, newbie friendly, and accessible to everyday people. I remember, 20, 30 years ago when, like living in Silicon Valley, you had San Jose Mercury News, and there was the business, section on Thursdays and Sundays, and that's twice a week you could see what the stocks performances were, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And Sunday was like also, had the sports section and everything else, and everybody got the Sunday paper, okay?
Right.
But if you ever saw a guy on Thursday with the San Jose Mercury News, you knew that he was a real Wall Street shark, okay? This is back in the days when it was acceptable for you to have a 1 week latency to find out the performance of your portfolio, okay? Wow. We're not talking microseconds here, we're talking, and then, Charles Schwab and a lot of these other guys, they changed the equation, right? The Alex Brown and, BT Alex Brown, whatever. All of those places, they made stock trading accessible for the everyday man and woman, okay?
Yeah.
And fortunes were made, and of course, fortunes were lost, et cetera, but the field opened up. It wasn't like this. If you had to do a stock trade back in the, in the 80s, you had to call a stockbroker and usually leave them a voicemail. And it was like, you go to the shrine and you pay the price, and the oracle will listen to you and opine on your stupidity, and, and so on, and where we are today, there's this entirely new financial product, this asset, this amazing new thing. It's this crypto thing, and there are rules of the game, and there've been all these barriers of entry for people to get into these things. And we're demystifying that. We're opening it up to the free market. We're opening this up to the regular, to the everyday people. And we realize that they need to learn first, right? So people don't lose their ass. I mean, this is where educational component is, and it has to be, like Max said, maximum trustlessness, so that they don't have to rely on somebody being honest, that the system itself control. The code is the law, that people can't screw with it, that the rules of the game that are set in stone, so they don't get changed on you ex post factum, and you don't get rug pulled, and you don't get, exit scammed and so on. So it's an ambitious undertaking, but this is what we're talking about. This is, and with Epic Cash being the base layer, the foundation, for that whole infrastructure. And this is why Epic Cash has value, and this is why this whole infrastructure has value, because it'll enable people to participate in the fintech world, to unlock those rewards, to
Right.
That were previously, again, this was a very, closed sacred garden that, people couldn't get into.
Yeah.
So we're knocking the doors off the barn.
But then when you have gentlemen, when you have people in your community like Izzy and that mustache, I just ask everybody out to please know that I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying.
Good. That is handsome, distinguished right there. Look at that goodness.
Yeah, that is a YOLO mustache. That is a
Oh, what
With
a
the eye
great
wink.
mustache you have, Izzy. Man, I have mustache envy. Mine wouldn't look like that.
All right, but my eyes are up here and my mouth has words to say. So
you're not just a pretty mustache.
yeah, I just want to tag on to that. You used to have to be an institutional entity with hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, to play in the big boys games of putting up your liquidity and being able to benefit from
Right.
putting your liquidity into the markets where it could be used. And now anyone can go out to all these DeFi platforms and participate in that. And I like how Epicenter DAO is putting this together in such a way that it's tied to the flagship store value asset of Epic. And I also like that I think there's an appreciation that if we have as few as 5 people contributing to the DAO governance, I mean, we all know we have at least dozens at this moment, and it's going to grow into hundreds, but we can still keep the ship sailing forward with as few as 5 contributors in a DAO governance process. We don't have to, what I'm trying to say here is just, you don't have to, the option is up to the player on how involved they want to get into participating in these ecosystems. And so that's a really important flexibility to have, because I've seen that currencies where they're voting, their whole process stopped because they didn't get enough people to participate in the governance.
And that was what,
so that's important.
You kind of went out.
So,
whose process stopped?
That some of these other cryptocurrencies where they didn't have the foresight to realize that not everybody wanted to play into the governance process.
Right.
So yeah. So that's just something that I see as a consideration in all this, and I think that's gonna be fine. Like if people just want to stake their Epic or convert their Epic to E1 and then mix in their ECR to get EUSD and then play around with their EUSD or spend it on some, do whatever they're gonna do with their EUSD, they can do that. Like they can do this process of just getting EUSD and go do whatever with it. They don't have to participate in the ECR governance.
They have the option. They have the option, but everybody chooses how much or how little they participate.
And guess what? When all of these options are fully cooked, Epic Cash is not going to be 50 cents. I hope that's another spell that we can break. That because we're down off the 685 all-time high, that there's something wrong. No, we have held so firm, and it is such a gift at these prices right now. I don't know if you guys want to opine on that, but I think everybody watching can always use a little bit of encouragement and some enthusiasm on just how we're really doing.
I think one of the cool things about Epic, and I lost my voice talking about it, but one of the coolest things about Epic today is individual can still impact the price. Like one person, empowered can get out there and create awareness and create content and create meaningful acts of merit. And and mustache, for example, and actually be a part of history, or screw history, okay? Because history will be written about the winners anyway. You don't have to write books, okay? Be a great person, and books will be written about you, okay?
Right.
But with Epic, you have that level of control because we're such an early stage project that every person, every contribution is so meaningful. And to me, that is a reward in itself, is that, look, you have this position, and if the price is low, like you can always look in the mirror and say, like, well, what else could I be doing?
Mm-hmm.
to make the price go higher? What
Yep.
else can, where can I talk about it? What kind of use cases can I bring into existence to encourage mass adoption of Epic? Because we have a scarcity. We have the scarcity, guys, okay? There's only so many Epics that are going to be, made. And from there on, it's, who gets it, right? And that to me is an exciting component.
It is. Epic Cash is the best proof of work model I've ever seen in my life. I keep watching. I keep seeing new projects come out. I look at their proof of work model. It misses. They just miss.
Wow.
And this came up. I scroll through TikTok.
Yes.
And I just got over 1,000 followers, so I could live stream. So I did that a couple times, and whatever. But I ended up in this live stream with 4 or 5 other crypto legit influencers with hundreds of thousands of followers, and I joined in a discussion with these guys. And at one point in the conversation, they were like, "Dude, you're Satoshi," and I was like, "Dude, you don't know. Come to t.me / Epic Cash, and I will introduce you to the actual Satoshi." So we got like dozens of them, and because we've got contributors from all sorts of projects like Algorand and Near and folks that have worked on Monero projects. So like when people say whatever about Epic and like 40 cents or whatever and whatever the price is now and however like what impediments we have to overcome, this story is still being written. Like I'm super excited.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing because I know your stuff, Izzy, and when you say that Epic is the most amazing proof of work you've ever seen with that kind of just drama in your voice, I believe. No, seriously, I believe you, and I've never heard you say that. So I know you wouldn't say that if it weren't true. So that's really, really pretty cool. Go Epic.
I feel like I say it all the time because that's the first thing that drew me into Epic Cash. But I'm sorry, I got to drop off the live stream off the call here, but I love you guys. And
we're sorry. We're sorry as well, man, because we missed you.
Stats with me. I got to share it with the rest of the world. Yeah. I love you guys. All right. Cheers.
Love you, Izzy. See you. I'll try to next. Yeah, guys, I tried starting with this, but it just didn't work.
Yeah, that's all right.
We need to send that one back to Amazon.
You made the point. You made your point. But one other thing, talking about like people of influence, when Izzy's talking in the chat room, and some people get it and some people don't get it, and there's some really big people that talk about Bitcoin, with a certain level of confidence, Michael Saylor or some of the other guys, popping out, and people think like, well, just because there are these major people, they can't be wrong, right? I mean, they say these things like gospel, like it's just chiseled in stone. And you got to remember, look, people make mistakes.
Yes.
Big, famous people. I mean, president of IBM, Mr. Thomas Watson, back in, early days of IBM said that I think the world market for computers is about 5 computers.
Right.
There's all these things. Like I remember, back in '97, like what's his name, the CTO of Microsoft, said that Apple is already dead. In 1997, Apple was 10 cents, guys. Not even 40 cents a share. Apple was 10 cents a share. Okay, with a market cap of about $1.5 billion.
Jeez.
And at that time, Microsoft had like a 200 billion market cap. So so that Apple is dead, right? All these people, these huge people, like Bill Gates in 2004 said that a couple of years from now, spam will be solved.
Wow.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So again, don't assume just because somebody big and famous says something that sounds really clever at the time that they're not going to be the laughing stock of the entire world years later.
So wait a minute, you're telling me that Elon Musk should not be my ultimate source of authority on all things Twitter? Don't break my
right
heart.
Right up to the point until he's not, he can be.
Yeah.
But don't have idols. That's my thing. It's like, look, you take people at their merit, but you always leave room for common sense, and you always leave room for events that, like Epic Cash is. I don't call this a black swan. I just think people just don't know.
I just love our DNA, man. You
Our
know,
DNA is amazing.
our DNA. Max, can you give us an update on have you started releasing the podcast yet?
Soon. Yeah, we just finished Marique Flamont, the CEO of Near Foundation. That was
Wow.
wonderful. It was, I believe, yesterday, maybe the day before, something like that.
Okay.
So she's going to be number 3. Dustin, the producer, felt very strongly that we should have some gender balance in our first wave. So we had 8-9 dudes, and we had like a month of scheduling snafus, but we finally got it. So now we can release it. And then the actual book is pretty far along as well. We're going to go with a hardcover, small format. So pushing forward on multiple fronts. It's all coming together.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, when all of this starts shaping up and Epic becomes everywhere and becomes just part of the nomenclature, it's not going to be 50 cents. So I'm kind of rewinding back a year where I was saying that people are going to be bragging about buying Epic under $10, and I believe that with all my heart. I think it'll be under $10, under $100, under $1,000. I look forward to the flippening. So, all right, gents, we almost ran it up to an hour. I think I'm pretty good for everything I wanted to unpack or talk about. Thank you guys for being with me. Is there anything else you want to share before we say sayonara?
Max, did you want to introduce Jonathan?
Yeah, let's.
Excellent.
John, you've been quiet, so maybe you can introduce yourself. We're very fortunate to have a very special person
Sorry, Jonathan.
engaged more deeply in our midst. So,
Yes.
John, here's a chance to introduce yourself to our community.
Well, let me see if I can get a video to work. I'm up in the mountains, and it's been all informative and another beautiful session. Thank you guys for all the work that you're putting into this. My name's John Ferris, and I'm located primarily in Tampa Bay, Florida. Been working with Max for a little over a year now, but been in the crypto space for about 7 years now, and working mostly on the back end pieces of the financial systems, current financial systems versus the new world that we now live in. And I have a business banking background, so I have an understanding of financial ecosystems and how destructive and broken they are. And knowing that time for the evolution of our species, as Max said earlier, this is the time, and I'm glad to see it moving forward. And I believe, the best days for me, I know the best days are ahead. And of course, Epic Cash, solid.
So you have a lot of experience in crypto. What is it about Epic Cash to where you decided to kind of, place your stake here?
Well, it was the understanding of dated technology and other. I really don't spend a lot of time bashing a lot of other ventures in the crypto space, because I believe that each of those components hold a piece to the puzzle as we grow, evolve this. But Epic, I know after, again, it's more than a year, but the last year putting solid research into it, spending a lot of time and even meeting with Max and spending time with Max, knowing that the system itself has a growing technology. I believe that the currency that wins will be a currency that can continue to evolve, and Epic Cash can. That's why.
And along the way in your research, and you don't need to share any names, but I know you brought some other major players to the table in the within cryptocurrency, and they also kicked the tires. Have you had anybody who came and kicked the tires that that didn't walk away a little bit with their, jaw dropped?
No, in fact, some of the largest players have praised the ecosystem of Epic Cash, And what I know is going to be happening in the next 6 months to a year with Epic Cash, I know that you'll see more and more of those individuals that have been in the space since the inception.
Yep.
Beginning to acknowledge, they will begin to acknowledge what they've acknowledged to Max and I privately.
Right. Yes, they will. And thank you for all of your networking. And can you quickly just share with the community what you and your wife do? Let's call it your day job.
Okay, so I'm a serial entrepreneur. So the day job is kind of hard to describe, but 7 years ago, as we started moving into this space, we began to recognize the void between that same market, the same financial ecosystem of the globe, if you will. We started to acknowledge that young adults would be quickly captured in the trappings of what that system is designed to do, and that is to hold individuals for 30 years and get the barrels of oil out of them that they that they can in those 30 years. I mean, it's literally the math.
Yeah.
So as we acknowledged that, we started to take in with us. We sold everything that we had, began to build campuses across the U.S. where we put together self-sustaining properties that would launch young entrepreneurs with the capital that they needed, but not necessarily that being the most important. We've discovered the most important is taking the time to build a community and family around them where they have, the basic provisions of life are all shared within the community so that they do not have to worry about the trappings.
That's amazing. So you give them the freedom to evolve into who they can become. Does that sound right?
We look for the gifts. We wait for, exactly. We just wait to see what giftings they have. Obviously, we have a high level of artists that find themselves in our midst because creators and artists typically get pushed aside until they're no longer with us. I would say Max is a creator, an artist.
Yep.
And, so a person like that gets pushed aside until they're no longer part of the physical society. They're gone. And then people start to acknowledge them. We change that format. We acknowledge them now and help them create.
Astonishing. Amazing. Well, thank you and your wife for doing what you do. It's very exciting and encouraging. And it's wonderful to see somebody selflessly adding value to this world and helping a lot of young people at the same time. So thank you. All right. Well, appreciate you. I hope you have a warm time up there in North Carolina. Look forward to seeing you back here. You and I are going to get together here in Tampa in a couple of weeks, and our wives. So that's going to be that'll be an exciting time. Max Yoga, thank you so much for joining me. And
Always a pleasure.
And I am just so excited to say that I don't see a Friday the rest of the year to where I'm going to have to say, hey, we're going to have to take this one off. So we're going to get, gosh, Max, I was thinking about that the other day. We had a run going for forever. It was like a 50-week run. But we're back. We're back. So everybody in the community, thank you. T.me/Epic Cash. Come visit us. T.me/Freeman U with a U at the end if you want to get smarter. And anything else that is of interest. If you just get into Epic Cash, T.me/Epic Cash, we can shepherd you on where you might want to go to best serve your interests and to best get your oar in the water to just participate in the community, because the community is what makes Epic great. Okay, everyone, that's it for me. I will see you this coming Tuesday, 8 p.m. with Ab the Fakeologist. Until then, great weekend.